Underground.
Chaotic Underground. Welcome to Chaotic Underground, everybody. I'm your host, Z, along with my other hosts, Ryan Damask, and a new face, kinda. He's in the podcast without us making fun of him now.
Oh, no. We'll make fun of him.
I didn't think I was going to get away with not being made fun of. Let's be real.
Poached from the Senpai Kohei podcast, I'd like to give it up for Trey. Steven.
No, I'm not that funny. I assure you.
welcome. So this particular podcast is going to be delving into, like what we've done in the past, urban legends, stories, giants, ghosts, cryptids, etc. And it'll be known as Chaotic Underground. So you'll be getting two different podcasts now. So deal with it. Today we're going to be talking about a subject matter that our new host Steven brought up, and you're the one who is kind of the expert on this. So I kind of want you to take the reins on it, or we do want you to take the reins. So Steven, go.
This is your interview.
This is the moment. Okay,
Yes.
okay. So to start out, I'm really glad you guys let me be a part of this. I like all the spooky stories and urban legends and creepypasta and weird stuff that exists in the world. So this is a lot of fun. True crime also applies in there. You guys did a DB Cooper episode that I was a huge fan of.
We sure did.
Yep.
I hate the fact that none of you referenced the fact that that's the basis for the hit comedy movie Without a Paddle. But I got over it.
Starring Dax Shepard, Seth Green, and other guy.
The other guy.
Who is the other guy?
No, it's the guy from guy from SLC Punk.
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, like the
I love
coolest
that movie.
D&D player ever.
I love that movie to death, but everybody tells me I'm an idiot because they think it's trashed.
I love that
I always
movie.
like to reference it.
My wife and I, we watched that movie when we first met, like when we were first like courting each other. We'd go to her house, get incredibly stoned, and watch that movie on repeat. Kinda. Anyway,
he said courting like he's in Westeros right now.
You said Westeros like a fucking
I know,
like you're from Westeros. So
hey, bite me. I'm about to butcher some other words in this episode, but let's get into it. So Tulpa is a term that I heard thrown around in an episode of the first season of Supernatural. So my significant other and I were watching Supernatural again just because it's kind of a fun show. You can throw it on in the background and it's pretty mindless fun entertainment. Also they're both handsome and just enjoyable. The writing's great, but they have an episode where they have kind of these fake ghost hunters on there, and it's called Hell's House is the name of the episode.
I didn't know Zach Bagans went on that show.
I think one of the guys is named Zach.
Get out.
I think this case, I know that the names are based on like Ghostbusters and stuff like that. They're called Ghost Facers, and they're like these bumbling idiots that are trying to be actual paranormal hunters. And it's actually like a running gag throughout the show that I love.
It sounds like they're making fun of Zach
what are
Bagans.
they called? It's like, is it ghost what?
Ghost Facers. Like they're even bad at naming themselves. That's the whole, like, they're such idiots about it, but they still manage to get popular over the series based on their run-ins with the main characters.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I just got into that show like in the last year or two and watched all of it. And if you like this kind of stuff, like the creepypasta, like urban legend type stuff, that is the show.
Yeah,
it's so entertaining.
Yeah, they really pull a lot.
It's a Monster of the Week show, isn't it?
Yeah, for the most part.
Kind of. There's a running theme and like overarch and stuff,
but they always spend a lot of time on like kind of episodic stuff. And they actually, it's kind of wild that something this kind of like obtuse ended up in the first season. Now, Tulpa is a concept from like Tibetan mysticism. There's multiple religions, or I guess theocracies. I think that's the right word. Don't quote me. Or belief systems that have different names for it, like thought forms is a pretty common one that I've seen in the past. But the idea in the show is that because these guys have been, this legend in a town has been, told and sold to people all around the area for so long, it actually has manifested into reality. Like they spend the episode like researching, and there's no real basis for this ghost in their episode to exist, except through the idea that enough people came to believe in it and the details of the story that it actually made it happen. And this concept kind of caught my eye because it's such a unique take on ghosts and supernatural things. And as you guys are wont to do, you talk supernatural. And so I kind of took that and like looked into a lot of different stuff, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up my notes here so I can kind of get started on that.
So like, what is like the definition of a tulpa? Just to get a kind of
basically
summary out of it.
So essentially, like a tulpa, as it's explained in like kind of like Wikipedia and more as I guess direct terms, is it's basically using thought to manifest you know, a creature, a character, or any other kind of like even a human form into reality and give it sentience. Like that's actually the big difference between an imaginary friend and it actually, according to the belief systems, it has the ability to manifest into actual reality, as in it's not just you seeing it in your head. It's like not multiple personality disorder. It's not mental illness. It's not like a psychotic break. It is literally something you've created that has its own mind and feelings in reality. And if it's strong enough, it can talk, it can move things, and your friends and family can see it. You can interact with it, which we'll get into some weird stuff later on.
So it's like a phenomena where you put so much thought, energy, or whatever into something that it manifests itself in a physical form. That's pretty crazy, man.
Okay.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah. Like, no, I mean, keep going, Steven. Like, because I want to keep going. I did some research of my own on this stuff, and I'm getting some interesting vibes from this. But I want you to finish your thought. So.
Yeah. So it also like that's the thing is like it because there's so many like because it basically falls under the umbrella of mysticism. There is a lot of different kind of belief systems around it. Besides Tibetan, like there's like Buddhism is associated with it. Some can argue that Shintoism, which is also in close entanglement with Buddhism, has some belief in it. It's a lot about manifesting like your true self. There's what is the name of it? There's a religion that came about in like the 19th century. Let's see if I can pull up this little note real quick.
Scientology, right? Like they believed in aliens so much that aliens came into existence.
I mean, honestly, some people can probably substantiate the idea that this is kind of a similar concept, and that's where we get into some of the more kind of confusing elements about Tulpa. Is it's very vague. I don't like. I'll preface this by saying I don't really necessarily believe it, but it is an interesting subject because it brings up a lot of things. For instance, belief in something, and this is a lot of times how they like kind of expand it, is like some people believe it can be directly done by one person. Some people believe that it can be done by a group of people. So one of my favorite examples of this is actually the Slender Man.
Yeah.
And so like what have you in your research, have you guys come across the concept of the Slender Man as like a tulpa and like how it worked?
That was all I could find for a good chunk, because I messaged you guys. I'm like, anything that you guys can find, please, because the only shit that I found on this was I had to sift through many videos and like like documentation saying like, how do you make a tulpa? And I'm like, I have no interest in it. I just want to know what they are and what's the big deal about them.
Yeah.
And then I had to sift through Slender Man and that it was he was universally created by everybody's will into it. And it's a fun
like a collective thought process type thing.
Yeah.
It's a wild concept, primarily because if you actually look, if you just even take a little bit of time, I mean, it literally took me minutes to bring up the fact of the Slender Man was created as like part of a Photoshop contest on Something Awful forums way back when by a guy named Eric Knudsen. He literally is in interviews explaining that this is made up. I looked for old photos and I basically used Photoshop skills to create this weird looking thing in the background of actual old photos, threw some filters on it and submitted it to a forum full of goofballs just trying to make spooky pictures. And it literally became so popular over time thanks to other people's spreading the pictures he made, making their own pictures, writing stories around it. And then all of a sudden you have multiple video games, you have movies, you have other web series projects, and then you have things as far as an actual attempted murder that they blamed on a fictional character. So that's there was this famous case in Wisconsin of these two girls who decided to lure another girl that they knew out to the woods and stab her to offer up to the Slender Man, as to protect themselves and satiate it. Like these people just went so far out in left field that's how far it went. There's actually a documentary about that attempted murder as well. And so you can see the whole roadmap of this, and it's one of those also weird things. Is like you never know now. Is it Tulpa? Like, because there are supposed footage of Slender Man. There's supposed actual photos.
But feel like
since it was from. Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. When it comes to any kind of photographic evidence, because we've done a few episodes about like Giant of Kandahar, some other cryptids, ghosts, and everything, and Polybius, the Men in Black. I feel like whenever it comes to like chairs, Ryan, I feel like whenever they produce any kind of photo evidence, like photo evidence is not enough anymore. I'm a pretty big skeptic, and when I was researching this, I'm very skeptical about being able to do something like this. However, I understand the appeal of it, and and why, because then you just reflect back as a kid, like all the times that you had an imaginary friend, quote unquote, and like you might have even been crossing into Tulpa making territory in a way. I feel like, based off of all the how-to videos I read, I'm like, oh, as a kid, I probably made a Tulpa and I didn't even know. So,
yeah, it's a very, as my research went, like it's a very thin line, and it apparently has to do with like consciousness and stuff like that. Ryan, have you encountered any other examples besides Slender Man and it's clearly like long-winded association with this phenomenon? Like what did you find?
Yeah, so I kind of went a different route, and we can circle back to this later on. But you talk about how this first developed in a number of theologies, and it got me to thinking, and apparently I wasn't the only one, because I stumbled upon some other articles after kind of going down this other rabbit hole of are all theologies potentially a product of Tulpas? And that made me think about religion in common media that we see, where we see like gods from different backgrounds and stuff like that, and like when people stop believing in them or whatever, they kind of lose their power, or they cease out of existence. And that kind of made me think of the same concept of a Tulpa, where like enough people believe it or enough people will it into existence, it is a thing. But if they all forgot about it, would it just disappear? And so that's more the route I went, and it is an interesting topic, because what if, and we never like to go too deep into like religious stuff, but if enough people believe in a higher power, does that higher power come into existence? So like I said, that's something we could circle back to, or not talk about at all. But
it's interesting that you mentioned that, because there is a lot of supposed like association with this, like taking into consideration guardian angels. There are countless cases where people claim to have seen a guardian angel, been rescued by one, some form of light, and it may just be good old-fashioned luck and faith and just this strong mental occurrence that creates an actual visual thing. Because that's where it gets weird, is some people claim to have seen the same guardian angel that somebody else did. So like it gets into a lot of hinky territory, because like, take for instance, let's go down there are other creepypasta that have also been claimed to have been created out of the same concept, like the Rake, a terrifying monster that literally came out of the B board on 4chan. Like a bunch of people said, hey, let's create a new monster, and they actually just like as a group decided to design the monster, and it like slowly evolved, and they started drawing pictures and stuff like that. But now, literally on I think it's Discovery Network, you can watch this show called Paranormal Caught on Camera. Oh, that was a lot.
Sure, man. I don't believe that part of the story.
Yeah,
can I really watch it on Paranormal Caught on Camera?
Like, this is where it gets a little wild. Is the fact of the matter is they show these videos, and they're always like really shaky. You don't really get a good look. But the Rake is a semi-humanoid like creature that's like hairless and scary and feral. It's kind of a shaky camera and an angry wet lemur would look like the Rake if you do it right. So
yeah. I mean,
I know at least 3 guys who look like what you just described.
Me on Sunday.
Yeah. And so ultimately, that when I was doing my research, the route I went is I was looking for some sort of proof that it has physically manifested in some way. I couldn't find anything clearly, but to kind of go on the note of that paranormal thing, like if I found a photo, it would probably be dark. The camera never will have night vision. It's grainy, it'll probably be grainy from 1989, and because we live in a world of cameras and nobody who catches ghost footage can fucking catch a clear picture of a ghost. But I guess the point I'm trying to get at with here is I'm definitely going to be on the skeptical side of this. It's kind of, I feel like that's kind of always been my position, is to be really, I think the only thing I ever truly came close to believing was the Giant of Kandahar. So this is the wheeling of a ghost or a friend into existence. I'm not trying to yuck the yum of everybody who's really into it. I'm just pointing out that I am going to be skeptical on this. So.
Oh yeah. And that's what's interesting about it is Tulpa is while in some situations is literally described as kind of group think that creates something, that doesn't mean they have to believe each other. It just has to have enough mental, I guess, assignment to actually create it. And that's a really fascinating thought to me. I'll break outside of the creepypasta at this point. All right, those are two big examples that supposed video and photos and real personal accounts. People say they've been chased by a rake in the night, or they heard tapping or saw something in their window. These are real people seeing something that was an actual documented fictional creation. You can still go look at the original threads of these people's efforts, and it's such a wild concept, is that people are all of a sudden seeing these things, supposedly. Always with a grain of salt. But the concept also brings into the whole questioning the entirety of all paranormal events. I would actually even go, so listening to your Polybius episode, it's all stuff from other people. Did they manifest it into existence themselves? That's
a good point.
Yeah.
You start questioning it. Men in black. Well, we see lots of people wearing black. I see Ryan wearing black right now. I see you wearing black. If you think hard enough on something, you can transform it into something that you can believe, and then belief is hard to break.
Well, so. and I'm of the, sorry, Ryan, I'll let you.
No, you're good.
I'm on the side of you see a ghost or you see a man in black, and then I'm on the side of your mind is capable of amazing and insanely impressive feats. I feel like that the whole Tulpa thing is another manifestation or another communal thing of giving a label to your mind, doing amazing things and manifesting things in a very much you're seeing things kind of way. If you're looking for, if you go into a haunted house looking for a ghost, your mind's going to want to see one, and so therefore it'll fabricate it. So if you consistently, if I want to make Saitama from One Punch Man and see him in real life, and I think about it really hard and maybe don't sleep for a while, I might see Saitama from One Punch Man eventually.
Take a little bit of Dramamine.
Yeah,
you're there.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking is going on, but I would love to hear more. Go on.
Ryan, did you have some input on that? You started to say something.
Oh, I was just thinking kind of the same route as him. At what point are we at what point do you divide an imaginary friend in your head with an imaginary friend that you've manifested, right? One thing you said earlier when you were kind of giving a brief little definition of what a tulpa is was, if it's willed powerful enough, not only you can see it, but your friend, your family, or whatever could see it as well. And there's not as many examples of that, right? In the research the brief research that I did, right?
Yeah.
Stop laughing at the word research every time you say it.
You're laughing. I totally did research.
I told him I was going to go research earlier and then posted a screenshot of me loading into Fortnite.
and I was playing Fortnite before this.
I said I believed myself was playing Fortnite and it manifested as I was researching. It's a tulpa.
Good lord.
Doesn't take much.
I was thinking of I mean, I consume an inordinate amount of media, like no person should, whether it's TV shows, movies, uh, books occasionally when I feel spicy. And I was thinking of like some places where like this has popped up before that I've seen that I never like would have at the time been like, oh, this is an example of a tulpa. But like the first one that kind of came to mind earlier was Wilfred,
Oh,
the
wow.
the
dog.
dog. Wilfred is Wilfred.
Man, talk about a throwback.
That's a movie about or Donnie Darko.
Or show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or Donnie.
yeah, Donnie Darko.
It's
Fight Club, like
Big Friendly Giant. I don't know.
it really, because, and that's the thing, is like one of the reasons I find Tulpas so fascinating and also so troublesome is because, one, it comes out of a lot of vagueness and just honestly a little bit kind of like hard to believe, and a lot of zealotness to a degree. It can explain so many things. Like, you guys are literally listing fictional things that could be examples of it. Some could argue that ghosts in its entirety are tulpas, because
yeah.
So wouldn't that mean? So hypothetically, wouldn't that mean if we found out, like, because there's the whole thing is Sasquatch real, is this real, is this real? If we initially, if we proved tulpa was a thing, I think that would open the floodgates of like everything ghosts. And like if there was like hard evidence that you can make a tulpa, like I think the world would go upside down, society would fall upside down.
You're right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're right, because you said if there was scientific proof that, hey, this is real, I would start to be like, are you guys real? Did I manifest you? You know what I mean? Like, did I manifest this? Did I manifest this world?
Lord.
Did I manifest all of this? Am I in the Matrix?
Exactly. So that actually gets into some of the exact mysticism. Is there was this late 19th century religion called Theosophy. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but it was established in the United States by a Russian woman named Helena Blavatsky, and it draws its teachings predominantly from her own writings. And it's like, it's usually viewed as like occultism and new religious movements. It really kind of, it pulls out of esotericism and Hinduism and Buddhism. And she claims to, have gone to Tibet. Like, there's all kinds of stuff about this religion that, well, unfortunately also reeks highly of a cult. Like, this is the same kind of people that come out and assure everyone that, yeah, God's speaking to me, specifically me. He's only going to write me. He's only going to talk to me. He's not going to talk to you guys. But if you talk to me, you get a chance to talk to him, kind of thing. It becomes really hard to believe. But there is traditionally in other religions things associated with this, but it has to do with like multiple planes of existence and in like the what is it, the like astral projection and stuff like that, which is actually relevant in other religions.
Yeah.
But there's also these kind of weird spin-offs that you encounter involving tulpa as well. And so it's really hard to determine what stuff is actually believed and people are capable of. You're talking about it's also coming from a religion that says it's capable to dull pain and be stabbed and kicked in the nuts 10,000 times and you'll never feel it. You can increase the body temperature artificially, like through your mental effort, so that you can withstand cold and you can cool down your internal temperature too, so you can handle heat.
That's different to me though. Like when I think about a tulpa, that's manifesting something physical, not changing something about you. Because and the reason I say this, because I was just thinking about this, like if I sat here and said, oh, I'm gonna get a great job one day. I'm gonna get a great job one day. I'm gonna get a great job one day every day, and I work towards it, and I do get that great job. Did I manifest that as a tulpa?
See, now
or did I just work hard to get there?
You just read The Secret, is what you've done.
Isn't this just self-affirmations? Like, it's on the calendar now, so it'll be okay.
That's
like
basically
365 days of self-affirmations. I'm gonna get that job. I'm gonna get that girl. I'm gonna make lots of money.
And then we kind of get into like almost like a reverse Schrodinger's cat situation, where it's like if I'm out fishing and I'm like, there's gonna be a fish. There's gonna be a fish, and I eventually catch one. Did I manifest that fish, or was that fish gonna come along anyway?
To call back to the chair, the chair episode, like, oh yeah, if you sit in that chair, you died. Mind you, he died 30 years later, but he did die.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Look,
did he manifest that by sitting in that chair and thinking about it for 30 years?
Yeah,
like I agree that story was a little weird. He had no chair to sit on, so
yeah. So we're at the halfway mark. We're gonna take a little bit of a break, and then we're gonna continue this conversation. Again, I want to stress I'm not shitting on the idea of tulpas. I'm just really speculative, and I'm just trying to get my head around it. So
absolutely,
yeah, that's exactly where I'm at as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool concept. I'm just trying to, I think, nail down exactly what it is, like how broad does it span. So we'll get into it when we get back.
Yeah. Welcome back to the second half of Chaotic Underground. I am your host, Z, aka Zach. Then I'm also joined by Ryan Damask, co-host, and Spooky Senpai, aka Steven, as the other co-host. And we're talking about tulpas today. And I have to clarify again, I'm not shitting on tulpas because I'm really concerned that I'm going to get hate for it. But because
I keep thinking you're saying tapas, and I'm really hungry.
Then don't eat tapas. It's 3 bites.
Look, if you eat 60 of those 3 bites, you have a full meal.
Exactly. Yeah. And you paid,
it means I can eat more different things.
You paid 60 times the price that you would for a regular meal.
That's also true.
This isn't about tapas.
You're not a foodie at all.
Oh, shut up. Yes, I am. Anyway, so tulpas. Steven, you want to keep the ball rolling on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've kind of established what tulpas are, kind of like some examples of things that could be considered tulpas, and how kind of wild and vague it gets to the point where you can literally question reality and actual things that exist. Which brings us to kind of where you start a topic that is really hard to talk about because it is such an intense group of people associated with it, and that is the topic of tulpamancy. And
it sounds cool.
Yeah, I'll give it credit.
It does sound cool.
The naming is selling it real hard, but then you actually kind of start reading into it, and it gets a little kind of weird. Like it feels kind of off. I mean, but that's the thing about belief, and I guess that's why it feels weird to me. Is like I clearly don't 100% believe in this. I don't even know if I completely, even like 1% believe in it. So maybe that's the reason why I can't really connect to it that way. But it is still interesting. The idea of tulpamancy is the ability for an individual to summon a tulpa, and that they use their own thoughts to create and give sentience. Like it is another person, like human, cartoon character, animal. Like that's actually how far it's gone, which it is kind of wild because a lot of the information I found on tulpamancy has to do a lot with the adult My Little Pony fandom.
The bronies.
It's
Love those guys.
It's not a
Full Pony Tulpamancer. New show coming soon.
It's not a good look considering.
Wait, is that real?
No.
Full Pony Tulpamancer.
Kind of real.
But it sounds like it could be an anime. It really does.
Because it's Full Metal Alchemist.
I mean, I've seen weirder anime titles, like Gion Riders is one that I just like saying out loud just to see how people react to it.
So like here's where, and I mentioned this before we hit record. When I was going through tulpamancy, which I was actually genuinely interested in, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Okay, it's a cool concept, I was getting and the online community that's a part of, and I'm going to be very clear once again, this is not me shitting on it in any way. I'm just getting very kind of, furry vibes, like the online community, like they want to manifest these characters that they love so much that they found tulpamancy or tulpas, and they're like, oh, here's a way to do it. And then it just snowballed into this giant phenomenon,
Yeah. But
And that's
believe it or
furry
not,
tulpamancer.
believe it or not, this is
furry tulpamancer alchemist.
okay. So okay, I got to. I'm gonna hold that thought and bring this up. Is you're making that joke, but a common association with tulpas is homunculus, which is associated with alchemy.
Alchemy, yeah.
So this is why I brought this up. There is a literal list of associations like thoughtography, homunculus, imaginary friends, reincarnation, rebirth, guardian angels, doppelgangers, cryptids, and alter egos, dissociative identity disorder. Probably when someone's kind of blaming them, but yeah, there's a lot of things associated with this concept, and that's why, again, it's still really hard to believe because it's so vague. But there is an actual website that teaches you tulpamancy. It is tulpa.info. And it literally...
How interesting.
Yes, it's amazing.
How'd they get that domain?
I'm already in. I'm in. I'm in.
I'm in the matrix. But this is actually really fascinating because it is a community, or at least an overall website that is about what a tulpa is and what tulpamancy is, and how do you begin, how do you plan it out, how do you create it, how do you develop your tulpas, and the links to Reddit and forums and wikis and things like that. So this is not like surface level stuff, or if it is, it's a very small, a very, very passionate group of people. Like they are 100% into it.
Yeah. Which I'm all about. I'm willing to even try it, to be honest with you. You know, like it's definitely a prove me wrong kind of a situation. Like because I always say this, like I'm always skeptical, but I always want it to be true. Like it would just make the world a little bit cooler. Ryan found something on the internet.
Tell us, Ryan, before I say my piece on that, because I do have something to say.
Do you have something? Do you want to share on the screen?
So of course, when I went to this website, the first thing I did was go to their forum and then go down to their off-topic lounge room just to see like what the normal conversations were in there. One of the first threads in there is a tulpas only chat where you're not allowed to speak. Only your tulpas can speak to each other.
Wait, what? Whoa. Is it completely empty?
It's a hello and welcome to the tulpa chat where you can put your little friends in one room to speak. You can be in the chat as long as you put in your name. Tulpas can speak freely like normal users. I'm not shitting on this. But the idea is interesting, at least.
See, I'm not going to try this, primarily because I have a pretty steadfast rule. I'm not a believer in ghosts.
Me neither.
Or super, and for the most part, supernatural stuff. I'm on Z's camp of like your brain can do a lot of shit. There's a lot of stuff that big boy does that we have no clue. I was actually going to bring it up earlier. When you think about going to the grocery, like say you want to go to the grocery store and you need to make a plan for what you want to buy, you can visualize in your head that actual floor plan because you've seen it enough times. That's a weird thing to be able to do.
Yeah, I agree.
But the thing I was going to say is I'm not trying this because I don't believe in ghosts, but I'm not going to fuck around with things that could give me ghosts if they existed. Like, I don't want to find out, like, oh, I'm going to create a tulpa and it's like, boogity, boogity, boogie, there's ghosts for real. And it's like, oh, shit.
So then you're on the fence of whether or not you believe in ghosts because you're taking those precautions. If you truly had the conviction of not believing in ghosts, you'll make a fucking tulpa, Steven. So let's do one together.
That's not fair. Okay, if we're gonna make a tulpa together, then you need to play with matches and gas at the same time with me. Okay, we'll see how long we last.
Shh,
you guys are thinking pretty. You guys are thinking pretty small. I'm gonna manifest one tulpa that goes to work for me and does all of my reports. I'm gonna get another tulpa that does all of our podcast editing.
Oh my god, you're thinking even smaller than me. I'm making my own fucking deity. Let's go.
Look, guys, I know you guys have seen Multiplicity. That's not gonna go your way.
But it worked for
John. You got a good point.
But it worked for Michael Keaton.
I also like.
By the way, Steven, I should say this is how the second half always goes. It just devolves.
Yeah, like also the middle of the second half disclaimer. Look, we're finding a little humor in it. We're kind of being like, but we're not shitting.
It is really cool. Yeah, no, it's really cool, and I'm super interested in the topic. I find it awesome. So it is just it's easy for us who are new to it. I mean, Steven, you've obviously looked into it before this, but I think it's easy for us to to sit here and like poke at it and be like, haha, it seems dumb. You got an imaginary friend. Well, I'm not trying to do that. And I hope it doesn't come from that place. I'm just a funny guy. Haha, look at me.
Look at the clown band.
It is really easy to like, because like it is a natural inclination of me to make fun of just everything around me, you know, like nothing is kind of safe with me. So like I do apologize if it's coming across that I'm in the same boat as Ryan. I find humor in everything. You know,
it's easier to handle things you don't understand with humor for some people, and that's completely
it's a coping mechanism.
So
yeah, for sure,
absolutely. But in the same vein, you say that tulpamancy for some people is a coping mechanism as well, and that kind of applies to a lot of things. Like one of my biggest things is, you know, when I was younger, being a nerd was outlawed. Like you got bullied for that shit. It may be the cool shit to do now, but when I was younger, you were the outcast. And when people are outcast, no matter what the reason is, I mean, you know, it could be, you know, your sexuality, it could be, you know, your financial status, it could be race, all kinds of things. When people are isolated, they want to find solace somewhere. Some people find that in religion, some people find that in friendships and hobbies, and some people
also Tulpa.
And some people need to create their own comfort. You know, maybe you don't want to go to church, but you can at least have somebody to talk to. And it's actually really fascinating to me, because I did watch a video by a small creator on YouTube who explained pretty damn well with a little bit of animations how to make a tulpa and how it kind of exists. And it's basically like you slowly build this form for a tulpa using your own, you know, projected thoughts, and then you have to teach it how to talk, and you have to then allow it to be free because you have control over it.
I think we've both watched that same video, Steven, and of the information that I found, that was the most informative. I think it was like a 4-minute video or something like that. It was very short, but it was the most information I got out of like tulpamancy in that quick video. Everything else just kind of got a little convoluted, but I do plus one that, like, I totally understand that, because I mean, see, we're not too far apart in age, and I was definitely in the same boat. And like I'll say I had an imaginary friend growing up. I had an imaginary friend clear into my teens, because, like, quite frankly, I didn't talk to anybody, and so I get it, and I do now. I feel really bad for making fun of it. So
no, please. There's no point in like poking at people. The whole thing is the whole point I was trying to make is there's different coping mechanisms for everything, whether it be humor, imaginary friends, or this. Like it doesn't matter. Everybody has their own thing. So it's like, and you know, come on, we razz each other all the time, and the thing is, absolutely, like no one's really actually trying to hurt each other.
No, it actually comes from a place of endearment. So.
And I don't say this in a hurtful or judgmental way, but it is scary though, right? Like if something like this were to, you know, expand, like you have people out there who might be dealing with stuff who are using this as a coping mechanism, and from our limited knowledge on the subject, basically using themselves for therapy, and it's potential to not be healthy, right? There are countless cases of suicide in teens and even younger children as we go across the years. And to me, like, something like this is absolutely wildly interesting, not only for the kind of like, you know, vague concept and how it could affect the world and different things we believe in, but also in the idea that some people may survive something that normally they wouldn't be able to handle through something like this. And maybe they grow out of it. Maybe it, you know, if the tulpa goes off into, you know, somewhere else in as far as their belief systems go, they move away from the tulpa. It separates themselves from them. But they got something out of it. That's not a bad thing. So in the same vein that I feel a little bit like, you know, honestly, being completely honest, it feels a little cultish, a little bit like kind of like losing yourself in fantasy. It also can help people, even if that's the case.
But who's to say, like, I mean, isn't that what video games and books do? You know,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
It's escapism, you know, it's, and I think a healthy dose of escapism is good for everybody. You know, obviously you can't lose yourself, and it can go to an unhealthy, and me with an incredibly ADHD brain, I get hyper fixated on things, and I have lost myself in things before. So too much of a good thing will always be a bad thing. But
absolutely. But a lot of times when you're going through something, you can't really separate yourself to grow from those until you've managed to handle it. Some of us choose video games, some of us choose anime, some of us choose sports, working on cars, summoning a tulpa, dressing up as a wolf, wearing a tail. It doesn't matter. Like that's the thing. One of the reasons why I kind of wanted to address this is like in the same vein that it kind of has that culty feel. There is a level of it that can be used to the benefit of a person, even if it's not real. And that's kind of was my overall interest in the actual subject matter, aside from just getting to talk about monsters and stuff like that.
Man,
I mean, if it's moved you and affected
sounds
you,
just like religion.
I mean, then you go through the thought exercise of if it's moved you and affected you, does that indeed make it real on some level? You know?
Yeah, and that's absolutely true too. But I mean, in the same vein, to kind of like, you know, save you guys from making jokes about it, we call each other nerds all the time because we like video games. You know,
that's how we greet each other. Sup, nerds.
Yeah, I've been
nerd.
called a weeb more times than I can actually count, and Ryan has made a lot of edits and photos
just
of me involving me being a weeb. So,
I've been called a neckbeard. I've been called, it's.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I like. I love the one about me and my love of keeps.com. So
I love the one personally.
but seriously, if you just take everything we talked about, at least this half, but I mean even the whole episode, and you did not tell me what the topic was, you cut out every time we said the word tulpa, you could easily swap in religion. Easily. Like it's just the cards just fit, man. Like, hey, if it makes me feel good as a person and I'm doing it, you can make fun of it all you want, but it's helpful to me, and I'm all for that. And yes, are you manifesting that spirituality, that higher power with your mind for yourself? You very well might be. And if it's helping you as a person, then I would say, then yes, you are manifesting something. It might not be a being, but it is manifesting a better you.
That's something I can definitely get on board with. My I don't believe in, like, it's kind of the same boat as you, Stephen. I don't believe in any kind of thing, religion. You know, I'm a man of science. You know, if God exists, show me a rock that says made by God type of guy. You know, but you know. But my wife is she's super spiritual, and she's into spiritualism, you know, auras, chakras. She'd actually be very interested in this topic. But like, I would never like 100% shit on her and be like,
no.
Yeah, it's like, and on the note of what Ryan says, like, it helps her. She is now like she's a changed person from 2 years ago because she started getting into this, and it's all for the better and the benefit. And so that's when I repose the question. Like, to me, that makes it good enough to believe, real enough to believe. You know, it's a really good topic. And you know, to Ryan's point, one of the reasons why I said I really want to kind of hit surface level stuff on this, not go too deep, is because once I did, you would be shocked at the number of religions that have a belief sort of like this, with different names and different themes and things like that. You go down the rabbit hole into Taoism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and even into you know, some other religions that are more esoteric, that were created by smaller groups of people. And there is some comparisons to Christianity. I'm not here to talk about that because when you start going that deep into stuff, it gets a little hinky, and you don't really. It's hard to like nail that down. But the overall thing, the overall thing is humans have been doing something like this or this adjacent for a long time. Even if it's just self-affirmations like you guys were talking about earlier, if it's escaping, there's a version of this that could work. And that's the reason I wanted to talk about it, is because it's everywhere, even if it's not by that name.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and let's be real, like, I at least I personally feel like, believe what you want to believe and everything, and do that, like, because in my personal belief system, you're just putting on a different mask of something that might exist. You know, it all goes to the same mailbox in the end. You know, but yeah, I don't believe in ghosts because it really upsets me that I don't encounter dog ghosts, because if there was really ghosts, there would be ghosts of everything. If there were really ghosts, there'd be millennial ghosts kicking around too. They're all in old timey Victorian dresses and shit.
Nothing
never
bad
see it.
happens in the modern times. That's the reason, right?
You never see
Absolutely.
a ghost you never see a ghost in a haunted house trying to make a TikTok video. Like that's
Would
like
you really be scared of it though?
no. I just want to
Only
say
if it made you dance, right?
If ghosts exist, there'd be one in the corner doing the money don't jiggle jiggle dance, you know? It's like I've been on TikTok a lot lately, sorry.
Ryan, you have any
Anyway.
final thoughts about this?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the more we talked about it tonight, like coming into this, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm manifesting like an entire Slender Man. I like our collective energy is manifesting this one evil being or whatever because we believe in it, right? That's kind of the initial thing. As we sit here and talk about it, I'm thinking of it on it more of a psychological level. Yes, we bring things into existence with our thoughts by doing it almost. You know what I mean? Or by willing things by taking action. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from. I think there is a lot of different veins of this, like whether it be like an imaginary friend, someone I can talk to in my head, or whatever with the Tulpamancy, where it's actually something you manifest, or it's something in our lives that we change by believing it so much, right? Like I think there's different ways to look at this that all kind of fit under that general umbrella. And I think there's a little bit of viability to each of them, right? And then, like I said, the overarching thing is a lot of the things that we believe in, not just religion that I kept bringing up, but like a lot of our overarching moral compass and everything is built off of these things that we believe as a society that we've kind of willed into existence.
It brings up also far more complex things like nature versus nurture in environments. So you may come across this in your lifetime when you're having a hard time. You may want to use it, but if anybody like asks you about it and you talk about it, they could go, "Oh, that's awesome, that's great, keep doing whatever you want to," or they could be like, "That's stupid, stop. Don't do that. Why are you doing this?" Like, you run into influences from the outside that can also affect this. And it's one of those things that brings into like psychological effects, like you said, in different aspects of it that can do that. So it's both mystic, psychological. It's just one of those things that can be applied to so many different things depending on how you twist the puzzle box, honestly.
Right.
And it's such a complex and deep thing, and I don't think there's an answer for it. I don't think there's any certainty evidence or anything like that, but it can be used to help people learn things, whatever it takes. It's a positive influence, in my opinion, because I found through my research, which this is a great thing to me, is through my research I found more people finding a positive use for Tulpa than necessarily summoning evil monsters from 4chan. And that's
like the whole Tulpamancy thing. It's like the vast majority of people who practice this Tulpamancy are doing it as almost, like you said, kind of like a coping mechanism, almost like a self of or a sense of like self whatever. And very few of them focus on it on like a paranormal type level, like at all.
Yeah. I guess my final thought the whole thing would be is definitely like I said, I was giving and I'll give it kind of the same treatment as I kind of gave the furry community as well. Like it's a live and let live kind of thing. Like it's they're not hurting any, like nobody's being hurt through this. Like, so why would anybody really get butthurt about
no one's yiffing on your front lawn, so let them be.
Yeah, just let them be. Just let them be. Like I personally don't believe it, but like hell, like live and let live. Fuck yeah, if it makes you feel good. But just know that develop a thick skin, because it was my natural inclination to just start making fun of things. So it's yeah.
And if we offended you in any way earlier, please don't send your tulpas to my house to catch it on fire.
Send them to my place. I'd like to meet them.
Absolutely. I love this. I love that you boys kind of came around and you're like, let's see it. Let's go.
I think we've grown. I think
I
we've
think
grown
so
in
too.
this
I
episode.
think
We've
this is a
grown a
journey.
lot in this 45 minutes.
Absolutely.
I gotta say.
Senpai showed up and he just wanted to teach you guys something on the first blood. You know, I think we're closer now.
He drew
But
first blood.
do I believe that as a society that I could write this fictional evil character and enough people believe in it that it comes to life? Do I think if the movie It comes out that we could all manifest a Pennywise down in the sewer? I doubt it. However, do I believe that us believing something can make us better people?
Yes.
And as a byproduct of that, kind of manifest the outcome of what that would have been? Absolutely.
Well, we'll see who's laughing, Ryan, when the great Tulpa War of 2030 hits, and you're going to have no Tulpas because
It's funny because I'm watching the Fate Apocrypha series right now, which all the Fate series, like they're like summoning in servants, and it's like,
Absolutely.
oh, that's kind of Tulpa as well.
I'm playing
That's
through
right.
Dragon's Dogma right now, and I think my pawn is a Tulpa at this point now. Yeah,
That's right. Ryan is a casual enjoyer of a story about a young boy summoning King Arthur as a big titted anime girl. Absolutely.
Holy shit! Was I researching Tulpas all week, unbeknownst to me?
It's sort of great research. It's in my wheelhouse too. So apparently we're in the same boat. So let's sink
Anyway.
this bad boy.
Steven, I think your first blood has been drawn. Do you now you won't have to have me like be host and hand it over. Do you want to close this out?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. I love talking about this subject with you guys. It was a lot of fun. We had a little bit of like learning along the way. We had some laughs. You get to see my handsome face on the show now, talking about a lot of this stuff. I don't know what these other guys are doing, but they're here. I'm looking forward to a lot. I'm looking forward to a lot of the subjects you guys bring forward too, because like things like Giant of Kandahar and the Chair of Death I'd never heard of. I think one more so than the other. But it's going to be a blast, and thank you for letting me be included on the Chaos Included and Chaos Underground process.
Welcome.
Interview's not over.
Oh no,
we still got to get through editing.
Oh shit!
I was just going to replace your face with a stock photo of a very handsome man. So
make sure it's the one with the big chin. You know, the one they use for like when they describe a Chad.
Yeah, the alpha male one.
Yeah, it's that picture's great.
It's disturbing. Anyway, everybody, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great
Bye.
night. Bye.